Now, the lower ball joint, if you still have the original, it has some tabs that we need to bend in order for us to be able to remove it. Hello everyone, Espanglish Garage here, and today we are gonna be replacing a lower ball joint. This one right here is a 2013 Chevy Silverado, but this process is very similar for any other car. You know, in my channel we avoid the nonsense talking, so I stick to the end of this video so you don't miss any important details. This one right here is the outer tie rod, and we're gonna begin by removing that one. Let's take care of this nut with a 21mm socket. If you don't have any power tool, that's totally okay. The only reason why I'm using it is to speed up my process, but you can do it with any regular tools that you have available.
We're gonna be using some convincing techniques right here.
And just like that, we got the tie rod out of the way. And I did the tie rod first to have a free movement of the knuckle. That way I will have better access to the caliper bolts. And right here you can have a better access to the bolt that holds the caliper to the knuckle.
To remove the caliper, we're going to be using an 18mm socket.
If this seems like a lot of steps, don't worry, take your time and you will get it done. Once you have done it once, it is much easier the next time. If you have ever done this type of job before, let me know in the comments how it went for you. Remember that the caliper is still connected through the brake line and we don't want to put any stress on it, so just be careful with it. I don't have any brake caliper hangers, so I just made up this one myself. That way the caliper is safe and we keep that brake line without suffering any damage. This one right here is your speed sensor line, and again, we don't want to break it, so we're gonna go ahead and disconnect it. It has one of those child-proof connector types, so you have to pull on that purple thing on the plug, and then you will be able to disconnect it. Once we got that plug disconnected and the line is free, make sure you put it in a place where it will be safe and you're not gonna hit it or pull it by any chances. But wait, the line is still not free. We have to disconnect this other clip right here. This clip is relatively simple to disconnect, but be careful, we don't want to break it, we want to reuse it if possible. Now is the time to remove the rotor, but wait, we need to remove this bolt if you still have it. This is a T30.
This is a size 30.
If saving money is your priority, you will be saving a lot by doing this by yourself. Now with the rotor out, it's time to remove the upper ball joint.
An 18mm to remove this nut right here.
Now that we are losing this upper ball joint, let me mention that this is not serviceable, so if you want to replace that one in the future, keep in mind that you will need to buy the whole thing. Chances are that the upper ball joint is stuck and you have to use some convincing techniques. If you have made it this far in this job, you are doing great. Don't rush, take your time and do it right. Now is the time for the lower ball joint, this guy right here. And we are gonna be using a 24mm socket to remove this nut right here. This nut should not be stuck, but if it does, use some penetrating fluid to make it loose.
Now I need to separate the ball joint from the knuckle.
It is highly recommended that you use one of these tools to separate the ball joint from the knuckle. Believe me, I was trying anything and everything else before this and none of them did the job. This tool did it, not without giving me a fight, but it helps a lot.
Finally, man.
As you can see, I left the nut on the ball joint so that way the knuckle won't fall on me once it gets separated.
Look how bad this ball joint was.
Now, the lower ball joint, if you still have the original, it has some tabs that we need to bend in order for us to be able to remove it. To be more specific, those that are marked on yellow. Now I'm using something like this to bend those tabs. Before you start crying, don't be scared. These tabs are really easy. The material is really soft. Just be patient and go all the way around. Place a jack stand under the arm control because we are gonna be smacking the heck out of that ball joint. Make sure you're hitting the ball joint and not the control arm because we don't wanna damage it. If you wanna press the ball joint out, you can do it, but I prefer using the hammer. And most likely it's gonna be stuck, so just use some penetrating fluids on it. Slowly but surely it should move out. I know it's a fight, but this is something that you want to happen. Why? Well, because if your ball joint comes out really easily, it might be a sign that the control arm bore is worn out, and we don't want that. Something worth inspecting while you are already in here. Now get your press and your new ball joint and make sure that the cap that you are using for the ball joint is a little bit wider than the ball joint itself. That's for the one that goes on top. Now for the cap that goes at the bottom of the ball joint, make sure it sits properly on all the edge of the ball joint, but do not sit over the rubber part of the ball joint or you could easily damage it. During the whole press in of the ball joint, it is really important that it goes straight. It should not bend, not just a little bit. If that happens to you, go ahead, make any readjustments that you need and keep pressing.
Oh no! Oh no!
Yep, just what I was mentioning. We don't want to keep on pressing while this, so make adjustments before continuing. See how the ball joint is sitting flush? It should be like that all the way around. Now this groove right here is where we will be placing our snap ring. Now since I don't have a snap ring tool and probably you don't have neither, this is the way I was pushing that snap ring in and it worked perfectly for me. First try and boom, got it done. It is a good thing if your ball joint came with this service pin. We're gonna go ahead and place it right now so that way we can add a little bit of grease after we are done with the installation. It is highly recommended that you use a very good grease for the ball joints, something that is rated for that specifically. I will be leaving in the comments the one that I'm using. And look at us, man, we got the ball joint replaced and now we are starting to rebuild this whole thing, putting everything back, and we start with the knuckle. And to keep it in place, we're gonna put this nut on the lower ball joint. Let's go ahead and apply some pressure to the upper ball joint so that way it will move while we're placing the nut. And of course, we don't want to forget about our tie rod, so let's go ahead and place it back. Alright, so far we got the lower ball joint, the upper ball joint, the tie rod in place. So what are we forgetting? Yes, we need to reconnect the speed sensor. Don't forget about that. Just imagine that after doing this whole job, you put everything back in, and then once you turn on your car, you see some light on the dash, and then suddenly you realize that you forgot to reconnect the speed sensor. Man, that would be painful. If you still have that purple pin, don't forget to child-proof your sensor back.
Alright, 24mm for the bottom ball joint. 18mm to tighten this bottom nut for the upper ball joint. Torque for the lower ball joint, 80 foot-pounds.
Now you need to align the groove on the nut with the hole on the ball joint itself.
Now,
if after torquing the nut the hole is not aligned, you don't want to lose the nut to align it. Keep on tightening little by little until it is aligned. Always tight, never loose.
For the upper ball joint, we're gonna set our torque to 37 foot-pounds. There we go. Torque to 37 foot-pounds.
Again, when placing the cutter pin, if it is not aligned, keep tightening little by little until it is aligned. I will recommend that if your car still have that bolt, go ahead and put it back. If not, then don't worry about it. Just make sure that the hole in the rotor aligns with that other hole. When placing this bolt back in, it don't have to be super tight. Now is the time for the caliper, and I am holding it with one hand while placing the bolt with the other one. I'm starting with the bolt on top, and then I will put the bolt that goes at the bottom.
Setting the caliper torque 120 foot-pounds.
take a moment to inspect and make sure everything is fine. Let me take this time to tell you something I didn't mention before. If you already replaced the ball joint and while doing this you notice that your upper ball joint, that your tie rod or the sway bar link are damaged, then why not replacing it since you already have all this already apart? It would be wise to just do it all at once. That way you will save a lot of time and you don't have to do the whole process all over again. So my recommendations, if you are already here and you see something that is damaged, go ahead and do it right now. Thank you for watching and see you in the next video.